Colorado at Nebraska. This game is 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on NBC and Peacock. I'm excited about this game. I'm really excited about this game. So let's dive in. All right. Will Colorado's passing attack continue to manufacture big plays? That's question number one. Including last week's win, Shedeur Sanders has thrown for 400 plus yards and 4+ touchdowns in 3 games since last year. That's the most of anybody in the entire sport. Okay. That's pretty amazing. Colorado has had just 3 performances from quarterbacks between 96 and 2022. Well, Sanders has 3 by himself just in the last year and change. All right. He is awesome. And his 3 career 400-yard passing games are the second most in school history. So something tells me, just a hunch, he's probably going to eclipse the school record at some point this year. You can't do it by yourself, though. And I think everybody knows about Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter's amazing. 3 touchdowns last week. Tremendous versatility. Incredible on both sides of the ball. Unbelievable ball skills. Tracks it in the air. Run after the catch. Like, there's not a whole lot that you could possibly want that Travis Hunter doesn't give you on a week-to-week basis. He's amazing. But the guy that's really underappreciated nationally is Jimmy Horn. Had 198 receiving yards during last week's win. That was, I thought, a terrific performance. It was actually the 3rd most of any Buff has had in a season opener over the last 25 years. So Jimmy Horn is a guy that, well, hey, you might want to put a lot of attention on Travis Hunter, understandably so. Don't sleep on this guy, Jimmy Horn, either, because he could take over the game as well and showcase the ability to do that last week. The Colorado had 17 plays last week that went for 10+ yards. Nearly 30% of their offensive snaps were 10+ yard games. That's a ridiculous clip. You want to make things even more ridiculous for a moment? 27% of their completions last week went for 20+ yards. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And they're going up against a defense that, while Nebraska is excellent defensively, most of their statistical dominance came against the run. They're really good against the run last year. One area where they kind of struggled to an extent was giving up an awful lot of yards through the air. If you were to take their offensive yardage given up by their defense, 70% of the yards given up were through the air. That was 128th in college football. Let's go to question number 2. Is Colorado's offensive line actually better? I mean, this is still, and I might not even know the answer to this after this game. I really might not. It might be a work in progress because offensive lines, they take a long time to create chemistry and continuity. It's understandable. So if they don't look very good in this game, I don't think that doesn't mean they're not better. They might still be better and not look good in this game, but by season's end, maybe they'll develop into a strength. That'd be an amazing revelation there in Boulder, Colorado. All right. So is Colorado's O-line actually better? Now, Colorado's passers last year were sacked 56 times. All right. Shedeur Sanders got sacked 52 times. All right. That was the 2nd most in college football last year. Old Dominion had the most at 61. Now, it's kind of crazy, but last week against a pretty good, what I think is a pretty good defensive line, they give up just 1 sack. And that is massive progress. Massive progress from a year ago. Here's the problem. Nebraska is a group that's pretty good rushing the passer. They had 32 sacks last year, top 40 in the country. Ironically, though, Nebraska actually recorded 8 sacks against Colorado last year. So 25% of Nebraska's sack totals came against Colorado last year. So was Nebraska actually good rushing the passer, or was Colorado just that bad? I really don't know the answer to that. Maybe we'll find out this weekend when they take to the field. Question number 3. Nebraska absolutely has to run the football. Will they? No. Nebraska, I think it would be very beneficial to their prospects if they can turn this game somehow into an old school slugfest line of scrimmage game. I think it would be in their best interest to absolutely pound the football as often as they can. Not so much because it's going to be crazy effective, because based on what I saw last week, Colorado looked like they're better against the run. Last year, they gave up 4.67 yards per carry on defense. Last week, they allowed just 3.65. That is a full yard better. on yards per carry given up by Colorado's defense, albeit just 1 week, but still pretty dang good. But the big reason why I think Nebraska would be benefited by trying to run the football is because it keeps the opposing offense off the field. I think Nebraska needs to play keep away, slow the game down, keep the ball out of Shedeur Sanders' hands, keep the ball out of the offensive weapons' hands, and continue to play complementary football. I think it's the best path for Nebraska to victory. Question number 4. Did you really think I was going to do a breakdown of this game and not talk about both quarterbacks? We already kind of hit on what Shedeur Sanders can do. So we'll move to the other side. Is Dylan Raiola ready for the spotlight? All indications based on last week's performance that the answer to this is a resounding yes. And like I just alluded to a moment ago, Nebraska fans, let's be real. Nebraska fans are going to want to see Dylan Raiola drop back and throw the ball 60 times. I don't think that's in their best interest, but he's an exciting player. Feels like he's the best they've had at that position in quite a while. He's in a great position. Based on 1 week, he's in a great position to be the best they've had in a long time. So I'm super optimistic by what I saw from this young man. But this is a whole nother level of competition. This is a significant step up. And the athleticism that he's going to be facing off against is at a whole new level. And I think he's ready for it. Based on what I saw in a 2-minute operation last week, sitting there, end of half, he threads the needle, clearly developed a rapport with Isaiah Nayor. I'm really encouraged by what I've seen from Dylan Raiola. But this might require a 2-minute drive at the end of game. And if this thing does become a shootout, which it very well may, is he capable of leading a 2-minute drive to go win the game? Like, we've seen Shedeur Sanders do this. We saw him do it last year against Colorado State. Right down the field, boom, touchdown. They won the game in overtime. Now is Dylan Raiola's turn. And if he gets that opportunity, will he seize it the way the guy on the other side of the field has done in his career? Question number 5. Like all Nebraska games, will turnovers tell the story? Now, if you look last year at Nebraska, the quarterback position in particular, 31 turnovers offensively. They had 3 turnovers in this game last year from Jeff Sims, their quarterback. I mean, there was a spot in the game last year. It was 13-7 in the third quarter. Colorado was winning the game, but it was close. And then ultimately, Nebraska couldn't get out of their own way. They were turning the ball over, felt like almost on every possession. Like, they had 4 turnovers in the game, 3 by the quarterback. Like, it was awful. Really, really frustrating to watch if you were a fan of the Huskers. They have to absolutely hold on to the ball at all costs. They cannot have any drive that ends in anything other than a kick. And when I say kick, I mean extra point, field goal, or punt. Now, they clearly made it a huge priority all offseason. Matt Rule and his staff talked a lot about it, no doubt about it. They finished last week, +1 on the turnover margin. That's a good start, but now things elevate to a whole new level on Saturday when they're playing against Colorado. A couple trends in the game. Colorado's 6-1 against the spread. It's a 7-point underdog since last season. That's the best in the FBS. And then Nebraska, 12-26 against the spread as a favorite since 2017. That's the worst in the FBS over that span among the 104 teams that have been favored 30 plus times. I'm taking Nebraska. I think they have grown drastically with their offensive personnel. When you look back at last year's game, there were areas in the game in which they had some advantages. The problem is they just couldn't seem to get out of their own way. I do think they'll be able to apply some pressure. I do think their defensive front is going to be disruptive enough. And I think they have enough pieces on the perimeter to allow this passing game to take flight. I think Matt Rule is smart enough to know that if he tries to turn this thing into a track meet, that is an advantage in favor of Colorado. I like Nebraska. I like it to be close, and I also like it to be high scoring.